What's going on, you guys? Hiram here. Today we're going to be talking about inflation in a simplified way, and we're also going to be talking about whether or not there are consequences to all of the money printing that's been going on recently. So let's dive into what inflation really is and how it works. Because when I was growing up, the only time I ever heard about inflation was in the context of how things were so inexpensive back in the day and how expensive they are now. But how does it really work, and what causes inflation? Well, to be quite honest with you, inflation is an inflated price in goods and services. For example, I bought this guitar late last year for $1,500. Back in the day, and I'm talking about the 1960s, you could have had this same guitar, Fender Stratocaster, for about $230 to $250. The question is, why do things go up? Why do prices rise? Why could you get a gallon of milk for 69 cents back in the day, and why does it cost over $2 now? Well, while I was doing my research, there are a couple of compelling concepts and theories as to why prices are inflated. But I am pretty heavily opinionated and convinced about at least two of these ways. And before I get started on explaining what I believe causes inflation, you should remember that that's just what it is. It's what I believe causes inflation. These are my own opinions that I've been able to form through the research that I've done. And I suggest that if you have any further questions or concerns, you should go do your own research. And if you have any enlightening comments to say or to discuss, put them in the comment section down below. I'd be more than interested to read your comments and to have a little discussion about it. So one of the reasons why inflation is caused, in my opinion, is because of the demand in products, goods, or services. And that just pretty much means that whenever there's high demand for any product or service, the price is going to shoot up. All right, just recently, toilet paper has been blown off the shelf. And now if you find one, you're probably going to find it for a high price. It's the same thing with real estate prices. If there's a big demand for people trying to get into a house, the house price is going to go up. And that's just your basic supply and demand right there. But there's a little bit more to it, because let's just take that house, for example. If there's a house for sale and they're trying to get it sold and there's not so much demand for people buying a house right now, the Federal Reserve can step in and motivate buyers by lowering an interest rate to the mortgage. So now buyers are a little more attracted to buying a home because they know that if they get a loan for the home, they can get it at a lower interest rate. And so with the research that I've done, that's just one way that the Federal Reserve can kind of step in and manipulate the economy. Because if there's not so much of a demand for housing, it can step in, lower interest rates, and therefore raise the demand for housing or real estate. And that's why demand, to me, really is one of those things that causes inflation. But remember, I wanted to talk about two things that cause inflation. And so the second one is the whole money printing that's been going on. Remember, I'm not an economist, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But money printing brings in a lot more money into circulation into our economy. And so that might cause prices to go up as well. Keep in mind, though, that this whole money printing has been happening even since before we left the gold standard back in 1971. That's right. Money printing is not something brand new that we're just now seeing today. It's been happening through something called quantitative easing. And quantitative easing, what that basically is a central bank or the Federal Reserve will work with the Treasury and they'll buy government bonds and be able to therefore inject money into the economy. I know it's a little bit confusing, but basically the central banks or the Federal Reserve will buy loans or IOUs from the United States and therefore inject money into the economy, hoping in good faith that the United States will pay it back. And that's why you keep hearing all these things about the national debt and how we're trillions and trillions of dollars in debt. It's because this quantitative easing allows them to inject more money into the economy, but puts us a little more and more into debt each time. Anyway, that's another topic for another time. But what I'm trying to say with this is basically the more money that's injected into the economy, the more money that is in circulation now. And the more money that's in circulation, the higher the prices are going to be jacked up on businesses for their goods and services. And so that's why we've seen a rise in guitar prices. It's because the more money that's in circulation, the more the guitar shops are going to know, hey, there's more money out there, so we're going to have to make our profit when we make these guitars. And so they've gone from $230 to $1,500 now. That's basically how I believe inflation is working, is through this money printing. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's not a secret that they're doing this. The Federal Reserve themselves have actually made it a goal to reach a 2% inflation rate every year. And they have done so successfully for the past few years. So it's no secret that they're trying to do this. And to be honest with you, it is completely good for the economy to see a little bit of an inflation rate year by year, just because that way we know that money is actually being made, money is being moved and flowed through the whole economy. Seeing an economy in a deflationary state, that is when prices for goods and services are going down, is actually quite bad. You might think as a regular American consumer, oh man, things are on sale and everything's going down. But that's actually not good for the economy. And that's what the Federal Reserve is trying to avoid right now during this crisis. That's why you're seeing all of this money printing. It's to keep you, the average American, from saving your money or hoarding and stashing your money under the mattress and spending it so that money can still be moved through the economy and we can still see some inflation. Now, that being said, I'm in no way saying that you should be spending your stimulus check or any other money that you've received just because you want to, or you think that by spending it, you're going to influence the economy. You should continue saving your money for an emergency fund and continue paying your bills. But time after time in the news, the Federal Reserve has come out and said that they will do whatever it takes to be able to keep the economy in a growing rate. Now, obviously, the economy isn't doing too hot right now, especially with the unemployment rate being so high. But as far as deflation and inflation go, that's what the Federal Reserve is trying to do with this whole money printing thing. Now, you can ask yourself, well, why don't we just print more money so that we can pay off our trillions of national debt and be able to pay all of these Americans as well, anything that they need? Well, that's where it gets a little bit concerning, because then we enter a bigger category called hyperinflation. And hyperinflation is something that happened to Venezuela not too long ago, back in 2010 through 2015, where all of their money was completely worthless. For example, one day they could buy a loaf of bread for $1, and then the next day they bought it for 10, and then the next day it doubled to 20, and it kept going on like that, and until I think a loaf of bread ended up costing like $1 million. It's like people were millionaires, but they were poor. And that's all because of the money printing and all of the money that was in circulation at the time. So because of all that money, the prices jacked up and everything crashed. So if you want my opinion, hyperinflation in the United States, I don't know if that's going to happen. But inflation definitely does. And if you are one of those people that just keeps money stashed in the mattress or just saved up in a savings account, not doing anything, then your money is falling behind due to the pace of inflation. Because inflation, remember, is increasing at least 2% a year, if not more. So, for example, if you have $100 of purchasing power this year, next year you'll have only $98 of purchasing power. And that's basically how it works. It keeps decreasing year after year because of inflation. So how can you and your money be protected from inflation? Well, remember, I'm just a guy here on YouTube, but one of my suggestions would be to at least keep your money in a high-yield savings account. A high-yield savings account is basically any bank that will pay you interest for keeping your money there. Interest rates vary. Some of them are 0.5%, some of them are 1.5%, and I think maybe even 2%. You're going to have to check that out and Google it yourself, because the Federal Reserve has recently come out and said that they're slashing all of their interest rates to zero, and so that also affects banks and their interest rates and how much they're going to pay you. But let's see, Citi could pay you a 1.55% for keeping your money in their savings account. This is a high-yield savings account, member FDIC, on select markets only. Capital One will pay you a 1.5%. FNBO Direct will pay you a 1%. And there's a couple of others that could pay you at least a 1% interest rate for keeping your money there and trying to keep up with inflation. But if you really want to be smart with your money, you're going to want to put your money in assets. where it will make you more money. It's going to generate it for you. Assets could be anything like stocks, a business, or real estate. Once you have your money invested there, it can at least grow, hopefully more than 2% a year. That way you can make more money above the inflation rate that's coming at you every year. This basically means that you can make a return of 5, 7, 10, 12, sometimes even more of a return on your money every year, and that will far outpace inflation. And that's all I really have to say about all this. Again, just a quick disclaimer, I am not a tax professional or a certified public accountant, but I hope you guys liked the video and that you got information from it. If you found value, give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.